the way, how's life? How are you doing? What's going on in your life? Why did you eat a whole pizza the other day? What happened? I'm talking to myself because I have those days too. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong in the audience. I'm a human being too, and I have bad days. I'll eat a whole pizza, right? But then I get to sit there and have this internal dialogue and ask myself, like, why was that? What led me to that? And how can I fix that so the next time I'm going through something exactly like that, I make a smarter and healthier decision.
Woo! Welcome one, welcome all to your place for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope, and we're getting right into it right now. But before I introduce our special guest for today, my special guest today, he reminds me and truly reflects and is an embodiment of what our free guide is all about. So we have a new free guide, a new free checklist, the 15 steps to resiliency. And our guest today is nothing if not resilient. Okay. If you were to look at the dictionary, okay, and look at the definition of the word resilient or resiliency, however you want to end the word, you're going to see my man right here. So without further ado, we are going to welcome fitness creator, fitness trainer, my man about everything empowerment, Mr. Coach Paul. Coach Paul, thank you for joining the Speak Your Vision podcast today.
What's up, Tariq? Man, it's an honor and a privilege to be on your show. You and I have been going back and forth trying to make this happen for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we finally made it happen. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's fantastic, man. And the time that we spent together at the event that we were at, every moment that I did get to spend with you, I was like, man, this is the man right here. This is the man right here.
I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. So language is really important to the podcast here and everything like that. And we always start off the podcast with one word. And you have been through quite a journey and being in and out of prison and everything like that. So I just want us to start off there a little bit. Um when if you could give me one word of how you felt when you left prison with basically nothing, um what's that one word and explain that to us.
One word when I left prison were basically nothing.
Yeah.
Ready.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Tell me why ready.
Because I had spent those 10 years incarcerated redeveloping myself, right? And although the entire 10 years wasn't spent doing positive things, I do admit during those 10 years, I fell back into negative behaviors. I was reinventing myself and I was preparing myself for who I was supposed to become. And in the last year of my incarceration, I dove really deep into personal development and changing my mindset, changing my thought processes, and preparing myself for the streets because I had been going in and out of juvenile hall, boys' homes, mental hospitals, jail, prison, like since I was 15 years old. And every time I would get out, the only thing I would be prepared to do is go back to the same lifestyle I once lived, the same behaviors I once exhibited. And it wasn't until this time when I went and that last year, like I said, I really dialed in like what I was going to do when I got out. So when I walked out of those gates, I was no longer fearful of what was going to happen next. I was no longer unsure about what my actions were supposed to be. I was ready. I was ready to take action. I was ready to change my life, and I was ready to change all the lives I came in contact with as well.
Wow. Wow. I'm going to be real with you. When I talk about my journey and my difficulties and blindness and et cetera, I don't use the word ready. But I like that you were preparing for this. You knew when you were going to be getting out, I believe, and everything like that. And you just prepared yourself to be ready. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely.
Mhm. Okay. We're going to come back to this word ready because I like that. I like how you set the tone, man. You know, the word that we use really sets the tone, and that's good. I'm going to definitely come back to that. Um, but before we dive into moving forward, I want us to go a little bit further back. All right.
Do it.
Um, Tell us why and why you ended up in prison and everything like that, and what was the lifestyle you were living? What happened?
Got it. So, I mean, let's really go further back, right? Because even before prison, I started getting incarcerated as a juvenile, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, growing up, I had a broken household. My mom struggled with drug and alcohol. My dad was verbally and physically abusive. So, I grew up with this feeling that I wasn't worthy of love, right? Because my mom couldn't stop using drugs, so she clearly didn't love me. And my dad would hit me and yell at me, so he didn't love me, so nobody loved me.
Mm,
And I grew up, as time progressed in my life, my mom eventually she got her life together enough to, get an apartment for us to live in, but she was not making good money. She didn't like it wasn't like she all of a sudden got her life together and got this big high paying job. She struggled, right? And because she struggled, when we moved in with her, I was 15 years old, and we moved in with her, and we didn't live in a good neighborhood. We lived in the hood, right? And so we lived in this neighborhood in San Jose, California, in the Bay Area, and it was a predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhood, and we were pretty much the only white family in our apartment complex. We were really one of the only white families in the neighborhood. There were some like down the street, but there was none around us. And so, because of the color of my skin, I was picked on, I was bullied until I decided to start fighting back. Right.
mm,
And so I got involved with individuals that taught me how to fight back, that taught me how to participate in gang activity. I started using drugs. And so at 15 years old, I went to juvenile hall for the first time for battery. And the crazy thing is, it was battery on my own brother, right? Which is
wow.
crazy. I didn't even know you could go to jail for fighting your own family member. But it was, I got in a fist fight with my brother. And,
Yeah.
and I went to juvenile hall for the first time because of that. But what it really boiled down to is because of the behaviors I had exhibited leading up to that. My mom was afraid for her safety, for my brother's safety, because I was acting crazy. I was on drugs. She knew I was hanging out with gang members. Like, she didn't know what my next step was going to be. And so when I got in this
Yeah.
fist fight with my little brother, she called the police on me, which is totally understandable. Um, so I went to juvenile hall for the first time at 15 years old, and I started diving deeper and deeper into those behaviors, right? And
Mm,
so juvenile hall, it wasn't a place where they change you or help you change. It was a place where they make you worse, right? So you
wow.
you take a 15-year-old, right, and you put them in with other 14, 13, 15-year-olds that are struggling with anger issues, that don't have their dads, that might struggle with drug addiction, that probably have gang affiliations. And you put us all together, and we're just going to fight each other. We're just going to either fight each other or turn each other into bigger criminals, or whatever that might be. And so 15 to 18, in and out of juvenile hall. I would get out. I would run the streets. I would live on the streets because my mom didn't want me in the house because I was on drugs, and she knew I was bringing guns and drugs and all this stuff into her household. And she had changed her life. She was like, you can't bring this into my house. So I chose to run the streets, and even, I was homeless for a good portion of my teenage years, sleeping in bushes, sleeping at the college, sleeping in carports. Here or there, I'd
Wow.
have a friend that would be like, oh yeah, it's Friday night. I'm gonna tell my mom you're staying the night here, and then I'd go stay at a friend's house for the weekend. But it
Wow.
was never like a secure environment for a teenager to live.
Yeah.
Um, and so it just got deeper and deeper and deeper. By the time I hit 18, I went to jail for the first time. 19, I hit jail again. 20, I went to prison for the first time, right? A lot of people don't know I went to prison twice. I talk about the second time because that was my longest amount of time in there, but I went to prison twice, right? First time I went to prison, I got raided while, trying to be some big drug kingpin. I was never a drug kingpin. I always thought in my head I could become one, but it never worked that way, right?
Mhm.
And I got raided, and I got caught with a bunch of drugs. I got caught with some chemicals that were used to manufacture drugs, and I got caught with a couple guns. And so when here I am, 20 years old, I was looking at 10 years in prison, and I ended up with 3 years with halftime. So I did 19 months off of that, right? And it's
Yeah.
crazy because when I reflect on it, I was looking at 10 years then, and I didn't change because I only got 19 months. I did, right? So then I got out, and I went back to the same. I tried to get my life in order for a little while. Like, I got a job, I got a girlfriend, whatever I thought was normal societal standards. But what happened was I couldn't do it. I'd never done any of the internal work. I had never
Yeah.
worked on who I was. I never fixed that broken child I was within. And
Yeah.
because of that, I went back to the same lifestyle I'd grown up knowing, went back to the same behaviors I was doing before. And at 22 years old, I ended up committing a crime that had me looking at 27 years in prison.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that was the second time I went to prison. And so for that situation, I ended up doing 10 years, which is, when I reflect on it, the first time I went to prison, I was looking at 10 years. I didn't change my life then, so then I got 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I think about the juvenile delinquent hall and everything like that and stuff, it really makes me think like we got to do something better for those individuals to get them, rehabilitated and everything like that, for it to be a positive place to want to do some personal development. There's got to be some changes that could happen there. And I know this isn't where we're going with the episode today, and this is about you and everything like that, and what moving forward looks like. But I couldn't help but to pause in that moment and be like, wow, like we got to do better.
I agree.
Yeah. Wow. And then the other thing that made me think, I was gonna bring this up later on, but you mentioned this, and I think I feel this is the time. Okay, so I am not and this might be a controversial opinion to some of the listeners, so I apologize. Costumes and everything like that. If you want to dress up as your favorite superhero, cool. I'm into a good superhero movie. Coach Paul's like, Trick, where are you going with this? Follow me.
I'm with you, bro. Let's get it.
So if you want to dress up as your favorite superhero, fine. Okay, whatever. But controversial opinion, I am not in to Halloween. Halloween's not my thing. And so there's that. Okay. However, October 31st is a really special day for you. And I'll let you talk about it, but I couldn't. You really, like, when I saw that post that you made about Gotcha Day, I was like, wow, that's powerful right there, and that speaks to a lot of not only your journey but your mother's journey. And so, if you could speak on that.
Absolutely. First off, I want to extend my appreciation and my gratitude to you for even remembering that, right? Because like it comes every year, and there's only
Yeah,
a handful of select few people in my life that know the importance of that date for me, that
yeah,
remember it and reach out to me. And I don't expect everyone to remember all my weird holidays, I
yeah.
don't remember everyone else's.
Yeah, for sure,
Um,
for sure. And before you go,
yeah,
even though this is coming out next week, the third Sunday of the month, today, the day that we're recording this, everybody, it actually is Mother's Day. So
yeah.
happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But go ahead with your story, Coach Paul.
Yes, happy Mother's Day for sure. And it's crazy that you brought that up and that we're having this conversation about this on Mother's Day, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
So like I said earlier, a little while ago, my mom struggled with drug and alcohol addiction, and because of her drug and alcohol addiction, she had lost custody of my brother and I. And she eventually got her life back in order. She went back to school. She became a nurse, and she was working at a hospital
wow,
as a nurse, like doing good things now. And so what ended up happening was she started fighting back for to get her rights restored and to get us back as her kids.
yeah,
And so because of the effort she put into it, she got full custody of my brother and I on Halloween, August or October 31st, right? I was gonna
yeah,
say August 31st. October 31st, right? On Halloween, right? And so after that, she changed the name of Halloween to Gotcha Day because she like that's the day I gotcha, right? And so it was crazy because growing up, like when she would say this, I'm a teenager, I'm running the streets, I'm doing all this stupid stuff, 17, 18, 19, she'd be like, Happy Gotcha Day. And I'm like, think it was silly. I would always think it was like super silly, like Gotcha Day. What the heck? Um, but then when I went to prison for 10 years and,
yeah,
up until she passed away, she would send me cards. And every Halloween, she would literally go to the store, buy a Halloween card, cross out Happy Halloween,
oh,
and
that's
change it
amazing.
to Gotcha Day. And it'd say Happy Halloween, crossed out Gotcha Day, and it
Yeah,
was like, crazy. And my mom was the only person that supported me unconditionally, loved me unconditionally, whether I was on drugs or not, whether I was sleeping in a bush or I was at home sleeping in my comfortable bed, no
yeah,
matter what. She was the only person that 100% supported me and loved me and always had my back.
yeah.
And yeah, so now I honor that day every year in her honor.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it speaks to the journey, and how she turned her life around, and how you've turned your life around, and just continue to make some amazing things happen. You
Yeah,
know, I when I think about just the importance of having people there for you and everything like that, it's just it. people don't recognize how support can just be so helpful and so encouraging to other people. And not only that, when I think about, where you're at now and, how your mom changed her life and everything like that, it makes me think all the time people want to like judge people, okay? Judge people for, where they're at and what they're doing, and judging people for like, oh, they're doing this right now. Why are they doing that? Or judging them and saying, hey, oh, they have so much money. I'm going to judge them because of how much money they have, et cetera, right? But you don't know what they had to go through to get to that place. You don't know what they had to go through to be able to have that success or et cetera, et cetera. You don't know that journey. And so I think it's so important that when we don't judge people, we uplift people.
Absolutely. I,
Mhm.
I I totally agree with that.
And that's your brand, right? That's your brand. You are, and now you've turned into this entrepreneur, a business owner. Um, but it kind of all comes back to fitness, right? So why health and wellness? Why fitness? How did you get into becoming a personal trainer?
Absolutely great question. Because fitness saved my life,
Mm.
and I firmly believe that fitness is the gateway to greatness.
Ooh,
Right.
okay.
And so for me, rewinding back in life, growing
Turn back
up,
the clock.
I was the skinny kid that got picked on, that got bullied,
Yeah,
because I was so small. I got a funny story for you, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I was so skinny in high school. I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school, and I had joined the wrestling team. And I was so skinny that I had to practice with the only girl on the team. Okay. Now, I mean, at 14 years old, that's not a bad thing, but her boyfriend was also on the team, and he was the captain of the football team and the head jock. And because of that, all the jocks would pick on me and snatch me up, try to throw me in trash cans. I mean, I'd fight back, but I mean, six football players against one skinny kid, like,
Hmm.
not much fighting back you can really do. I remember trying to fight back and getting choked out by one of them one time, like,
Hmm.
and it was all because I was so skinny I had to practice with his girlfriend. Like, it's not like I was intentionally like, oh, I'm gonna go wrestle with your girlfriend.
Right.
But because of that, I started getting into working out, and I'd always seen my dad. My dad was a big guy my whole life. He was a big old biker,
Okay.
and he'd have a weight set in the backyard, and I always remember seeing him go out there pumping iron, like old school iron, right? And so I would go out there and like kind of mimic what I saw him doing. Like I never worked out with him really, but like I'd go out there and hit the weights, and then in the school, I started staying after school and going to the school gym and like working out there, not knowing what I was doing, but just doing something, right? And it
Yeah.
kind of started with that, right? It was an opportunity.
Just
And
do something. Just do something. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. And I commend anyone that goes into the gym and has no clue what they're doing, but they're
Yeah.
doing something, because you're doing something. You're taking
Right.
action.
You could have
Uh,
been at home. You could have been at
yeah,
home.
exactly. And something that all the business coaches I've ever worked with, they've always talked about taking messy action. And that
Yep.
means just taking action, even if you don't 100% know what you're doing, but at least you're taking action. And that's what I see when I see people at the gym that don't know what they're doing. And that's where I was at 14 years old. Bless you.
Thank
I was
you.
taking I was taking that messy action, right? And so 14 years old, then 15 years old, still working out a little bit here and there. And then I started going to juvenile hall, and then you get locked up, and working out is now an escape, right? Because
Mhm.
during that 1, 2, maybe even 3 hours I'm working out, depending on what my day looked like that is an escape. I'm no longer in a cell. I'm no longer locked away. I'm now pushing my body and my mind outside of my comfort zone in order to change, right? In order to change in a positive manner.
Right.
And so going through juvenile hall, working out. I mean, we get creative. We would take our sheets off of our beds, right? We'd fill them with books, and we'd like curl the books, right?
Wow.
Or we'd get our mattresses and we'd put them on our shoulder, and we'd squat with our mattresses and
Wow.
push-ups, burpees. Everyone hates burpees. I love burpees. Burpees
Yeah.
changed my life, right? The whole world hates burpees, but I literally got shredded in prison off of burpees.
I have to tell you, Coach Paul, you're gonna think this is hilarious. I was like, all right, how am I gonna prepare for this interview with Coach Paul? I'm breaking out 5 burpees right now. So
There we
I
go.
just did a few burpees. I'm not. You're right. I'm in the I Hate Burpee fan club. There's no doubt about it. But I just did it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get hyped. This is what Coach Paul would do. So there you go.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, so and here's the thing too. Um, a lot of people don't like burpees because they're hard.
Mm,
Burpees are not easy. Okay, I admit that they're not even easy for me, man. I don't know if he's still on here, but my homie had a bust down boot camp last weekend in Salinas, so it took us about an hour and a half to get there. We was doing burpees on the beach, and I don't really do burpees as often as I used to anymore. I'm on a strength training protocol, right? And so
Right.
I'm lifting heavy weights right now. So
Yeah.
I went out there and he kicked my butt. Cool, they're hard. They're even hard for me, and I love them. But guess what? If you can do hard things in life, if you can force yourself to do hard things, and this is how
Right.
I look at it. If I can do burpees because I want to, knowing that they're hard, knowing that they're not fun, knowing that they're difficult, and I just say, I'm going to go do something that's really hard by choice, what else can I do that's really hard by choice?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
every time I get locked up, I would work out. Every time I get out, I would go hit the gym. Like
Yeah.
fitness just became a part of my life, and I progressively started working on my physical health over and over and over. And then when I got sentenced to this 10 years in prison, I was locked in a cell a lot of time by myself. And what I started to do is I started to actually learn about fitness because I'd always worked out, right? But now I started to learn about it, you
Yeah.
know? And so
Yeah.
the first book I ever read um, is Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, right?
All right. Let's
One of my
go.
yeah, one of my homies, right? He got the book and he was like, "Yo, you want to check out this book? I know you're really into working out." I was like, "Yeah, man, shoot it." So he shot me the book, and I sat in my cell early mornings, late nights, and I read through this whole book. And I got my
Wow.
yellow padded legal paper, and I would take the workouts and I write the workouts down, and then I'd say, "Okay, how do I? I don't have dumbbells, I don't have a barbell. How do I turn this into something we can do in prison?" Right? And I started building Arnold Schwarzenegger's workouts into
Wow.
prison style workouts, right? With pull-ups and push-ups and burpees still.
So,
And
when the pandemic happened, you were ready.
oh man, the pandemic was easy for me, man. That was the easiest lockdown I've ever been on.
I bet. I bet. That's awesome. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, that was a good. We'll come to that too because that's a key. The pandemic is a key contributor to this too, right?
Okay.
Um, so those 10 years, like I became utterly obsessed with fitness and with
Yeah.
learning about fitness. So I read every book, every magazine I could get my hands on, right?
Yeah.
I would get subscription, like this is how we would do trades, right? I would get a subscription to like one type of workout magazine, and
Okay.
then one of my homies would get a subscription to another type, and the
Right.
other guy would get a subscription to the other type, and then we'd all get them around the same time. So we know like the May one comes out, and I'm gonna read through and take my notes, and I'm gonna shoot it to you. You're gonna give me yours. I'm gonna read through yours, take some notes, then I'm gonna shoot it to the other guy, and we get rotation going, or
Yeah.
like everyone else was looking for girly magazines, and I was looking for workout magazines.
Yeah. 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 Gosh. So, okay. A few different things there.
Yeah.
First off, you mentioned burpees being hard, right?
Mhm.
But let me ask you a question because there's a concept I'm really trying to push here on the podcast the last couple months. Um, how would you relate the first burpee you ever did to the 500th burpee you ever did?
How would I relate it?
Yeah, like would you say that it was harder the first time versus the 500th time?
Well, so that's so we would do honestly, especially in prison, we would do a minimum of 500 burpees anyways, right? So, so to say like the 500 one was harder than the first one for sure, because by the first one you just get warmed up. I've never just done one burpee, like so.
Let me change the question. If you did one burpee today,
Yeah,
okay, versus the first burpee you ever did, all right, way back when, would you say that your body's been more conditioned and a bit like in a better place to do a burpee now versus what it was how many years ago?
absolutely.
Yeah. And so my big thing that I've been trying to explain to people is that, and granted, I do believe that difficult things exist. Okay. There's no doubt about it. And everything has specific level of work you have to do it. However, sometimes it's not about something being hard. It's about it being new.
There you go.
You got to crawl before you can walk before you run. The first time you might walk, when you're a baby, you're going to stumble, right? Eventually, you're walking. You know what I mean? First time you try to talk, whatever, you don't know, you're da, 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 you don't know how to talk. And then eventually you're talking, right? It's hard at first. And you continue to grow, and not saying there's not a level of work that's consistent that needs to happen, but sometimes you got to think about it. Sometimes things aren't exactly hard, they're just new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the second thing that I wanted to ask you then, aside from that, there had to have been a turning point, though, Coach Paul. There has to be a turning point in my, because what you mentioned that fitness saved your life, and that's amazing. But there had to have been a mental turning point where you guys are like, oh, what am I doing with my time in here? I gotta start making myself better. Because you mentioned ready being your word, but what made you want to even get ready? What made you want to start reading those the encyclopedia of Arnold Schwarzenegger or those different fitness magazines? What was the turning point in the turning point in your mindset that even got you there?
I mean, so there's gonna be multiple turning points for me,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because I remember, getting to, the California prison system is set up in a way where there's different levels of security based upon different a point system that they create, right? So to
Okay.
create this point system is determine if you how much of a threat you are. And so the most secure levels are level 4. Then there's a level 3, which is still pretty secure, and then there's a level 2, level 1, which is the least secure. And so I was a level 3 when I started my prison sentence, right? So I was a higher security level, and so that's cell living, very limited time out of your cell. There's a bigger security measures when you're out of your cell, when you're walking around, things like that. So that being said, we spend a lot of time locked inside of a cell with nothing to do.
Mm,
Okay. So when you have nothing to do, you need to find ways to keep yourself busy. And so for a while, it was just working out and reading books, sometimes magazines, But this time, because like I said, I'd always been a skinny guy and I've been working out for all these years, and I saw some results, but never like getting just absolutely jacked the way I wanted to.
yeah.
So I was like, all right, like I said, my friend had this book, and when he mentioned he had the book, and I was like, Arnold Schwarzenegger is huge. Let me see what I can get from him. Like if I could get out of prison looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'd be happy. You
Right,
know,
right.
and so that was kind of like that little shift was like maybe I should stop just doing like working out hours and hours and not really seeing major results, and maybe I should learn how to actually get results,
Yeah.
right? So that's where that started, right? So I started, reading that book, and I really liked what I was reading, and it was interested me. It was one of these things like, oh, I can sit here and read this for 2, 3 hours and not realize, oh, I'm still in prison, you know? And another turning point for me was like sitting there realizing I had no actual work skills. I had no like job skills. I've had a few random jobs throughout my life, but I don't have a resume. I don't have no opportunity when I get out. So I enrolled in college classes thinking I needed to get a degree in order to get a job when I got out,
Okay.
right? And I know this is one of the questions we're going to talk about. It's on your list of questions. So
Yeah.
I won't go too deep into it until you're ready.
Oh,
But
we're good.
but okay, so like for me, I had this mindset, and honestly, I believe now that I look at it, this was a self-limiting belief. See, people think self-limiting beliefs have to be something negative, but they can be something that's positive that still limits
Ooh.
you from moving into what you truly could do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come
And
on
so I had
now.
this self-limiting belief that in order to get a good job, I needed to have a degree.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought at that point in time that having a degree meant having a good job, right? And so I started doing college classes in them. And when I say college classes, they are correspondence classes. They send you a book, they send you a stack of homework, they send you one of these yellow manila envelopes, and they, you know, and they say every 2 weeks, send the envelope back with your homework.
Wow.
There's no teacher. You're not actually like you teach yourself, right?
Okay.
So I would read these history books and these English books and math books, and I would do the homework and send it out and all this stuff on top of my studying about fitness. And so I started working towards this degree, um, which I did end up finishing when I got out, but it's a useless degree that is not relevant to anything that I like. I don't need a degree to do what I do today.
Right.
Um, and so that shift happened. And then, but I was still like doing other things while I was incarcerated that were not, they didn't match my thought process, right? I wanted to change. I wanted to be better, but I was still doing drugs. I was still selling drugs. I was still getting in fights. I was still like doing all these other things that were not, they didn't coincide with this idea of I needed a college degree to get a good job. And I, want to learn more about fitness and take care of my health. But here I am drinking Pruno, which is homemade alcohol, or here I am smoking
Wow.
weed, and eventually doing other drugs I got my hands on later on in my prison career because I didn't want to deal with being in prison or deal with the feelings I had,
Yeah.
and so for me, the next major turning point wasn't until like 9 years in, right? My mom died
Yeah.
5 years in, and I gave up for a while, right? And when I gave up
Wow.
for a while, I started using harder drugs, and I actually got hooked on heroin in there.
Wow.
And, like I was just on a dark, dark path.
Yeah.
And so, like 9 years in, and I don't know what happened here. I honestly, I was so messed up on drugs, man. I don't know what the shift specifically was, but I woke up on August 30th, 2017, completely broken, and basically looked at myself and was like, you need to change, man. This is not working. Right.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
my homies were tired of me. I was tired of me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I wanted to die. I wanted them to kill me. I just wanted to stop feeling the way I felt about myself and about my life.
Yeah.
And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like strung out on heroin and I had like long hair, but it was like not well taken care of. And my eyes were all sunken in. My cheeks were hella skinny. Like I looked like death, man. I mean, I have a picture. I literally have a picture of myself around that time. And I'm just like, whoa, like I looked like I was like 40, 50, 60 years old. Like I was shot out,
Wow.
and I was
Wow.
like, I'm done. Right.
I got to commend you, Coach Paul. I think that people are afraid to recognize some of the difficult times that they've gone through, right? And you just went out and told us all about just some of those dark times and was a bit vulnerable with us. And I feel like when you can be vulnerable about your situation and what you're doing, and at least, and it doesn't have to be on a podcast, it can be with a friend or anything like that, or that internal conversation with yourself
Yeah.
could just go so far. And I think that's what we both try to do with our, excuse me, we're not trying to do anything. That's what we both
Thank you.
do. That's what we both do with our brands to say, hey, this is who we are, and it's okay to recognize where you are or where you've been, but recognize also where you're going.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, your story is one that I always love seeing your content and everything like that, and seeing some of the different things, and like you truly embody like that journey, that the journey. You never know where it's going to turn and where it's going to take you. I had someone on a podcast a few months ago say, Tariq, life is always going to be lifing.
Yep.
And I said to them, and I didn't say this to them, but this came to me this week, and I did this in a reel. I said, you know, it's true. Life will always be lifing, but you still got to work towards your goals. And even when tough times come, you got to understand like the journey will always be journeying. All right. So we got to keep it going. We got to keep it moving. We all deserve more. And so that deserving more piece, and you're open with your story and everything like that. Tell me a bit about how you work with your clients and embodying that power and that empowerment for them.
Absolutely. I love it. I want to just kind of reiterate something you just said, though,
Please,
because I think this is actually very relevant to how I work with my clients and what I teach my clients, right?
please.
And you said like life will always be lifing, but you got to keep pushing forward and working on yourself, right? And so, what I believe is that if we constantly are working on ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually,
Yep.
whatever that looks like for you,
Come on
and
now.
you're doing it intentionally every single day, when life shows up, it will be easier to walk through the storm than if you're just sitting on your hands waiting for things to happen,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Many people within our society, they just sit on their hands, wander through life, and then boom, someone in their family dies and they don't know how to take it. They don't know how to deal with it. And their whole life crumbles down because they have not built a level of armor or a level of success or a level of personal development where they can walk through hard things. Okay. Last December, a few months ago, 3 days before Christmas, I watched my dad, the man that used to hit me, the man that used to yell at me, the man I was scared of for so many years. who I had now rebuilt a relationship with. I had rebuilt this relationship since getting out of prison, right? And he had become a father figure to me again, and someone that I loved and someone that I cared for. I watched him take his last breath, right?
Yeah.
But only because of the effort and the work I do on a daily basis was I able to be there for him, love on him on his last days, watch him take his last breath, and then not let that completely knock my life off. Was
Yeah.
I sad? Yes. Was I depressed? Yes. Did I cry? Of course.
Yeah.
Right? Did I go home and have the best Christmas ever? Probably not, because my dad had just died a few days before that. But I'll tell you what, I didn't let it destroy my household. I didn't let it destroy my business. I didn't let it destroy my life. Like so many people, someone in their family passes away, and because they have not done any work on themselves, they cannot take it. They cannot
Right.
walk through it. Right? It's okay to
Right.
feel pain. It's okay to deal with struggles. That's okay. And it's okay
Yeah.
to have feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings. But I believe that if we consciously work on ourselves on a daily basis, when life shows up, because life is going to show up, people will die, we will get injuries, you'll get in a car accident, you'll go broke, whatever happens, you'll lose your job. But if you're constantly working on yourself in all areas of your life, specifically your mindset, none of that will actually completely knock you off course.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
and I think about it like driving down the street and you get a flat tire, right? If you've been practicing driving for your whole life and you know how to drive a car, you get a flat tire, you just pull off to the side and change the tire, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
haven't, you take some young kid, 16-year-old that doesn't even know how to drive, or maybe you're drunk, you're drinking and driving, you get a flat tire, you just, all of a sudden you're flying off a cliff because you didn't know what to do, right? And I
Yeah.
look at that like flat tires are going to happen, things are going to happen, but if you
Yeah.
prepare yourself for them, right, you don't go flying off the cliff, you just pull over and you fix the situation.
Right. You were a big example for me, Coach Paul. I have to say, because I told you a bit about this already. It's interesting because we were going through some tough times almost back to back because I saw the journey, what you were going through with your dad and everything like that. And then a few days later, right after Christmas, um, my sister passed away.
Yeah,
And honestly, seeing your strength and your vulnerability and being open about your story and everything, what was going on, that helped me create a podcast about it and talk about it on Instagram and be there for my sister's last breath. I felt like I had the power to do so by just listening to a lot of the things that you were saying. When things were happening and everything like that, I didn't want to leave the room and I wanted to be there and everything like that. And tough times, right? Tough times, and
absolutely.
we work through them, and we do the best that we can. But I'll tell you, like you, every day, I'm working on being a better version of myself. People always ask me, Trigo, what are you doing today? What are you doing today? My best. That's
Absolutely.
it. I don't
Absolutely.
always know what else is gonna happen. My best. That's what I got for you.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And that's what I teach my clients.
Yeah.
Right. So I was talking with somebody yesterday, like I'm a fitness coach, quote unquote, right? But I'm more of a mindset coach, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a life coach. I use fitness as a platform to help people do hard things and overcome their visual struggles so that they can overcome their internal struggles, right? Because
Mm,
people come to me with these external struggles about wanting to lose weight, not liking the person they see in the mirror, they don't have confidence. And when we start to move the body, we start to develop these healthy habits, guess what? Other things start to come up and we start to see that it's not all external, right?
yeah.
Most people I found are overweight because they overeat. And most people overeat because they're depressed. And most people are depressed because some sort of life issue has knocked them off kilter. And if I can help you overcome this level of being overeating, right? If I can help you eat in a healthier manner, if I can show you that the reason why you're overeating is because you don't like yourself, and if I can teach you to start to like yourself, then you'll stop overeating, you'll lose some weight, you'll feel better about yourself. And I've been a successful human being.
Let's go. Let's go. That yo, that equation is so real. If it you might people might need to rewind that part and listen to it again because that is such a fact. That is such a fact. If you can't get the mindset right, it's not going to come together. It's not going to come together, right? The fitness thing might be cool for a little bit. You might see results from a little bit, but if your mindset, if you're still there, you're gonna stay there.
Absolutely. And my coaching program, my M3, my signature M3 method, right?
Mm,
That's how I coach my clients.
okay.
M3, right? Mindset, metabolism, and muscle. Those are
Ooh.
the three core concepts of my coaching program, right? You see mindset is number one. That is the foundation, right? People come to me like, yo, Coach Paul, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. All right, cool. Let's get you started on program. Let's get you tracking your food in the app. By the way, how's life? How are you doing? What's going on in your life? Why did you eat a whole pizza the other day? What happened? I'm talking to myself because I have those days too. Don't get me wrong. We're all human beings. It's okay to have those moments. It's okay to fall back on things. For me, sometimes I'll eat a whole pizza, right? Not the healthiest choice, especially when I'm prepping for a bodybuilding show coming, into the
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
But I get to sit there and say, okay, why was that? Right? Because I've done enough personal development
Mm,
and enough work on my mindset. I can see why was that? What led me to that? And how can I fix that so it never happens again? And then I do
mm.
that with my clients. We figure out why they're struggling. At the end of a long day, you've had a long day, you're stressed out, you stop at McDonald's on the way home, knowing you have meal prep at home that you prepped and cooked. And now you got to throw away this food that you've already cooked. You're throwing away money because of what? Because you're stressed out about money. You know how often I get on a call with someone and they say they can't afford my coaching program, and then we look at their DoorDash and find out they're spending double my coaching program on DoorDash? No.
Wow.
Like seriously, you're
Ooh.
spending more money on food that's killing you than spending that money on an opportunity that could save you. Why is that? It's not because you don't love yourself. It's because something else is going on in your life that has led you to believe that's a smart decision.
So let me ask you a question there, Coach Paul. We're gonna dive deeper into that, okay? Because you're bringing some truth right now. But where does so you're saying that's a mindset thing, okay? And that um about those different choices that you're making, okay? I've never actually heard it explained exactly how you explained it before because a lot of people just go straight to discipline. So, where do those two things connect? Why are they different in terms of the mindset and what you're going through and making bad decisions versus I need to be disciplined and stick and keep on going? Where are they different and how do they come together?
That's a great question. So I want to start off by saying that motivation is not a consistent thing. Okay. Motivation is a fleeting thought process. And what I mean by that is motivation can get you started, but it's discipline that'll keep you going. But you cannot develop that discipline unless you're attached to why, right? I talk about this with my clients. Your why. What is your why? Why would I get up at 4:45 in the morning and do my morning routine and read books and study every day and pray, journal, read, vision board, goal board? I have this whole list of things that I do every morning, right? I work out, I do my check-ins, I work on my book, right? Why do I do this every day? I've got growth, grit, gratitude, giving right here on my board. Why do I do this every day? Well, let's see. My mom died while I was in prison, and I absolutely adored her. And because of her death, I use it as an excuse to go down a dark path. And because I never want to go down that dark path again, I now use her as fuel. That's why. I have two beautiful stepsons and a beautiful girlfriend right upstairs right now that I love with all my heart. And I never want to see them, let them see the part of me I once was. That's
Mm,
why. I've served all this time in prison, all this time homeless, all this time addicted to drugs for a reason because I have a purpose on this earth to impact hundreds of thousands of lives. That's why. I'm so attached to why I must do these things every single day that even when something happens and life shows up, I might fall back a little bit, but because I've done so much work already, my falling back a little bit does not destroy me, right?
mm,
More
hmm.
people need to know their why.
Yeah,
They need to know why they're doing it.
yeah, yeah.
I work with moms, okay? And I tell my moms, go look at your kid right now and tell them why. Like in your head, why are you doing this? We are doing a 4-week challenge right now. And and part of it is person. And so one of our clients, Julissa, brought her daughter to my facility yesterday for her weigh-ins, right? The daughter's not doing the weigh-in, but Julissa is. And
Yeah.
Julissa came for her weigh-in and she had her daughter with her, right? And her daughter was like making a joke because they're like do they a bunch of the women are together, they're talking about girl power, this and that, and the daughter was like laughing. I looked at her daughter, I said, you know what she tells me all the time? She's like, what, Coach Paul? I said, she tells me all the time she's doing this for you.
Yeah,
She's doing this because she doesn't want to die at a young age. She wants to leave you with a legacy. She wants to be the most healthiest mom she can for you.
yeah,
And her daughter looked at me and was like, really? I was like, yeah, you're her why. You're her
yeah,
reason, right? When we teach people, their why and help them truly find them. It's not, I want to lose 20 pounds. No, it's deeper than
You
that.
know, you're so right, Coach Paul. I'm just gonna stop you real quickly because
Yeah, let's go.
you and I we're on the same wavelength, right? Because it starts with the why is I want to lose 20 pounds. But
Yeah.
nah. We don't want to only know your surface level why. We want to know the foundation of your why. So then when tough times come, once again, you can fall back on that. What's the foundation of that why?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times it's like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. Why? Because I
Come
want to
on.
look good in a bathing suit. Okay, but why? Because like I've never looked good in a bathing suit. Well, why is that?
What? Yeah, come on.
Why? Tell me why. Like, really, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Because ever since I was a kid, I grew up in a household where my mom used food as a way to deal with her depression, and so she taught me that that's how you deal with depression. And I was
Now we're
depressed ever
getting
since
there.
my husband died, and that's why. Okay,
Yep.
so why do you need to fix it now? Right?
Yep. There
Oh,
you
because I
go.
have a daughter that needs to see the example my mom didn't set for me.
Yes,
There's your
sir.
why,
Yes,
right? Set
sir.
that positive example for your kid. And here's the thing, I talk about this all the time. My purpose on this earth, the reason why I dealt with homelessness and abuse, the reason why I went to prison for all those years, the reason why I was hooked on drugs for so many years, is because I was put through the trial and tribulations and through the fire so much
Yep.
so that I can serve a purpose. And my purpose is to impact hundreds of thousands of lives, specifically the youth, right?
Yeah.
I want to help the youth not have to go through what I once went through. And
Right.
so I work with moms because I know moms are the household. They
Yeah.
run the household. If I could teach a mom her why
Yeah.
and help her develop a healthier lifestyle, and that can translate into her household, I can help her kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You make me reflect a bit about what I do. And in terms of like, I work with employees working through if they feel like they have lack of direction in their job, in their career, if they need to leave that, etc. Right? Recognizing that they deserve more. And so when you just talk about that why right there and what that looks like, I, it, it's so powerful because people, once again, sometimes they don't even realize that they deserve more in their lives. And so it's not just about the losing 20 pounds. You know what I mean? It's okay. What if that losing 20 pounds can get you? It's interesting. Something that I truly believe in when I talk to a lot of my clients, right? Sometimes we have to ask them that why question like we're 2 years old. And we got to ask them like at least 7 times. And then now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. Why are you here? Because I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, there you go. So and you guys broke that down phenomenally. And you're talking about now your purpose, right? Your purpose and the power of that purpose. And maybe we'll talk about purpose in another episode. But one thing that I think people get confused about is passion. Now, I'm all for people who feel like they want to find their passion and everything like that. I think that's cool. That's great. And I'm not trying to sound sarcastic when I say that. I generally feel like that's dope. That's super cool. Okay. Now, where I feel like people lose the, I would say, the importance of the word passion is that it's not always about finding your passion. It's about putting passion into whatever it is you're doing. And I'm listening to you talk here, Coach Paul, that there is no lack of passion in what we're talking about right now. And so,
Absolutely.
so tell me a bit about how you're able to put passion into everything that you do. And real quick, for those of you listening to the podcast right now, this isn't Coach Paul just doing this for the one time. All right. You go up if you go on Coach Paul's social media. This is all the time. This is all
All
this,
the
this
time.
is this is who this guy is. All right. So how are you able to be so consistent and continue to put passion into your work?
Because I truly care.
Mm,
Right? I think there's a lot of fraudulent human beings out there that don't actually care. They're doing it for their own selfish reason, right? And I'm
mm,
doing it to give back. I'm doing it to help. I'm doing it because I believe that there needs to be more individuals out there with the purpose that they were born with to figure out that purpose and then put passion behind it. I agree with you. Passion and purpose are different,
yeah.
right? I have a purpose, and my purpose is to impact lives, specifically the youth.
Yeah.
My passion is to use the different techniques that I utilize,
Okay.
make that happen, right? Like My purpose is impacting lives. My passion is fitness and speaking, right? So I can talk about fitness all day long. Like, here's how you build a muscle. Here's how you lose fat, this and that. But the purpose is to change your life, specifically your internal dialogue, so that you could turn around and change someone else's life. Because if I can change your life and you can change their lives, then I've created a ripple effect to help more people,
Come on
right?
now.
I can't single-handedly impact the amount of people that I want to impact, but I can impact as many people as I can come in contact with, right? And my
And
passion is how I do it, right? Because if you walk up to someone and they're like, hey man, I want to know a little bit about fitness. And I'm like, oh yeah, working out's cool. It's pretty good for you, like I'm not going to impact your life like that, but I'm like, yo, okay, so check this out. First off, what are your specific goals? All right, cool. So if you want to lose fat, specifically, you need a strength change, you need to be in a calorie deficit,
yeah.
making sure that you're burning more calories than you're eating per day. And here's how you can do it. And they see that I'm excited about it, right? I'm
Yeah.
talking something that I care about, right? And then they get excited. And I've given them some of that passion, but my purpose has been served because hopefully they'll take a piece of my energy with
Yeah.
them when they walk away.
Listen, if they leave with one piece of your energy, man, they're set for life. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. I the lessons that we're talking about right now, okay, are they're life changing, right? And you talk about being able to help one person, and then Jen Gottlieb talks about help one person every day, right?
Yeah.
But then you touched on this. I want to go a little bit deeper on it because there is the people that you work with, and then they have the opportunity to affect other people who you'll never meet, right?
Mhm.
So how
Yeah.
about that for a water cycle? You know what I'm saying? Like that is what we're talking about. We're making change here in this life, in this world. And that is exactly what you're doing. I mean, when I think about my blindness and how that all happened, lack of direction. Okay. Lack of direction. Who has lack of direction? A lot of people in different jobs that they don't want to be at and or feeling like they're stuck and have no way to progress. Okay. And so that's how I felt when I became blind, truly lack of direction. And so if I could find a way to empower and give other people direction in their lives, then I might not ever meet their cousin or their nephew or their nephew's nephew.
Yeah.
But how about that for a water cycle? All
Yeah.
right. Let's go. Let's go. So now, when we're talking about the fitness piece and the health and everything like that, and putting passion into everything that you're doing, before I continue with the interview, how are you feeling right now, Coach Paul? How are we doing?
I feel good. I feel good.
Excellent, excellent. And ultimately, when we talk about what we do with our clients, right? I think that we attempt to fill whatever, like maybe that I don't want to say it's a void necessarily, but once again, giving them the tools to feel empowered. See, I'll sometimes use the word help, but I really feel like I connect more with the word empowerment because I could when I've worked with clients, because I started off only working with blind clients, um and I could help my blind students cross the street. I could help blind adults cross the street, but unless I can empower them to be able to do it on their own, we haven't done anything. If they have no
Yeah.
confidence in themselves to make the change, we haven't really done much. So tell me about what this looks like to instill confidence in your clients and who you work with and what it looks like for them to build confidence along their journey with you.
Yeah. So easiest way to put it is
Mm-hmm.
I teach them how to do it, and then I show them how to implement it.
Mm,
Right. And so when it comes to working with me for on your fitness journey, ideally what I'll do is I'll give a very simple template to start with,
mhm,
keeping it simple, and then we take a look at where you're struggling, where you're not struggling, and what adjustments need to be made. Okay. So I'm not a huge fan of meal plans, but I will give clients meal plans at the beginning if they've never
mm,
tracked their food, because it
interesting.
doesn't make sense to be like all of a sudden you're going to track your food. No, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a meal plan. It's a template, right? And this template is basically telling you what you should eat every single day for the next month in order to lose the weight you want to lose. And then they start to see that and say, oh, wow, I didn't know I was eating so horribly. I thought I was eating well, right? And then I say, okay, cool. So you've been following the meal plan. You're tracking it in our app. this meal plan is easy to track in the app because you know what to eat. Cool. Now we're going to try it on your own, right? Here's what I want you to do. You're going to eat this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat, right? Now I've empowered them to know what healthy food looks like. I showed them first by giving them a meal plan. Follow this. This is what healthy meals look like.
Yeah.
Now go pick your own meals and make your own healthy meals. I'll give you some recipes. I'll give you some opportunities to use the stuff we have to offer. But I want you to learn how to do this on your own. So that eventually, whether, I have clients that do their 16-week program with me and then leave, and I have clients that have worked with me for years. No matter what, I want to make sure that at the end, I've given you the tools you need in order to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the nutrition part. The same goes with the fitness part, right? I'm going to teach them how to move their bodies and exercise regularly, starting off with something simple. We don't immediately jump into 5 days a week, an hour every day, plus cardio, plus walking, plus no. I give you a step count. I give you a water goal. I give you a pretty basic workout to do for your first couple of weeks as you get to know the app, you get to know the program, and then we get to know your struggles, right? I give you a 30-minute workout, and you're like, yo, coach, I couldn't get all those workouts in this week. Cool. Can we split it into two 15-minute workouts, 15 in the morning, 15 at night? Does that fit your busy schedule? I work with moms, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the night is still better than 0 minutes throughout the entire day, right?
Yeah.
And we progressively add on that. We find out, okay, cool. Well, on Saturdays and Sundays, I have more time. Can we get a longer workout on Saturday and Sunday? Absolutely. My clients will now message me like, yo, coach, I finished my workout. Is it cool if I go for a hike too? Absolutely. Go get it. Hey, coach, I did an hour of cardio instead of 30 minutes. Well, you didn't necessarily need that much cardio because I'm not a huge push cardio on people, but good job, right? It's all about empowering, like you said, empowering my clients to be able to do this on their own. And you know what? I have clients, once again, that have worked with me. I have a couple clients that have worked with me for years. They're not going anywhere because they just love Coach Paul.
Yeah.
They're not even paying me for workouts no more. Yeah, they're getting workouts and they're getting nutrition guidance, but they just want to know that when things are going bad, when they need some support or they need someone to talk to, or they just need a question answered, they got Coach Paul in their
Yo,
corner
Coach Paul, what up? Ring, ring. Coach Paul, what's up?
Yeah, they can hit me up at any point, And then I got clients that come to me like, yo, my boy Eric came to me and was like, yo, bro, look, I can only afford you for 12 weeks. I'm rebuilding. It's because he's rebuilding a car, right? I totally get it. You got our priorities, but he's like, I need to lose a bunch of weight in the next 12 weeks. I need you to help me. And you know what? He did every single workout, tracked every food he ate, did every step he was supposed to do, drank all his water, got to sleep, did everything. He lost 45 pounds in 12 weeks, right? He crushed it. Now he's down over 80 pounds now, right? Because he took the opportunity to learn, to grow, to put all his effort into it. He invested for those 12 weeks. He walked away with the information and he continued to use it. That right there is what it's all about for me. For me to know that at the end of our time together, you know exactly what you should be doing. And if you don't know what you should be doing, it's not because I didn't give you the tools to get there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go. So, Coach Paul, gosh, I think I want to bring you on again at some point, and I know it took us a little bit while to get here, but just to even just talk about some fitness conversations.
Yeah.
I'm really big into fitness myself, and so I like I said, I always see what you're doing. I love it, and so just even have a conversation about fitness at some point. We're gonna do some rapid fire right here, real quickly. Okay, give me I'm gonna give you a word, and you give me a sentence on what that word means to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go. Nutrition.
It means the opportunity to fuel your body properly.
Health.
Health is a loaded question, but when it comes to health, I think it's all about having an optimal body for your lifestyle.
Give up.
Not possible.
Authenticity.
Being your true self and not caring what anyone else thinks about it.
Coach Paul. Who's Coach Paul?
Just a man that's trying to make a difference in the world.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. All right. That's awesome. I think in those few words right there and everything like that, I was going to dive into some more, but ultimately, I think it's been so great for the people just to get to know you today. And once again, the passion and the knowledge you have behind the story that you've had. And it's just incredible. And, even though our journeys are different, our struggles are different ones for sure. But we both find a way to continue working through our journey. And that's what this episode was all about here. For someone who is stuck, someone that's struggling, someone who might be in jail or in prison, someone going through some difficult adventure right now. You know, the question that I had for you was maybe some advice for someone because nobody would believe that someone that has been in jail, incarcerated, in prison could eventually become a successful business owner. What would be the advice you would give to those people who don't believe that?
I think the best advice I can give them
Mm,
is that is a self-limiting belief that somebody in your life projected upon you. And
mm,
once you dive deep into where that comes from and start to believe that is a false belief system, anything is possible.
mm, mm-hmm,
Because, I'm in touch with a lot of people in the formerly incarcerated community. And I have a lot of friends that are doing some epic things right now. Epic. I'm talking about like capital conversations in the capital and like high level things impacting the youth. I'm actually speaking this next Friday at a it's a men's circle for at-risk youth, right? And
awesome,
there's three of us that were all in prison together that are now high level entrepreneurs doing huge things in the community, meeting up
awesome.
with another guy that runs this nonprofit who is also in prison with us, right? All of us going and making a difference for these at-risk youth. And I believe that anything is possible if we truly want to make it happen,
Yeah.
right? And it's not an accident though. It might be a little bit harder because you have a criminal record. So what? So was doing 10 years in prison. That was hard too. So I can do hard things. So is burpees. Do burpees, they're hard. Cool. Then overcoming whatever stigma that is around being an ex-con. I'm at a point now, I talk about it so openly. I do not care if people judge me on it. Like, I did 10 years in prison. So what? You don't like it? Go away. I don't care because I'm so in touch with my why, so in touch with my purpose. Your opinion of me does not matter. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to change lives.
Let's go. Let's go. Coach Paul, well, even though you're not here to make friends, man, you made a friend in me.
And you know what? And because it wasn't to make a friend, it was to change lives, right? And because you and I have connected on a path to change lives, right? We've become friends. And
Yeah.
that's why I say that because I'm not here to be someone else. I spent my whole life being someone else so I can
Mhm.
make friends. So all of these guys in my neighborhood thought it was cool, and the guys in prison thought it was cool. And like, I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I'm gonna be me because I know my purpose, right?
Whew. Coach Paul, I have a lot more questions for you, but our time is running to an end. We'll definitely have to do this again, man, because I have so many ways I want to go with this right now, but I recognize that we've already given so much value here today, and I really hope if you're listening to this right now, I hope that you got something from this and you're able to share this with somebody who needs to hear this.
Absolutely.
Um, and maybe that person's you, but just share, because this was great, Coach. This was great. Um, I typically tell my guest how exactly I want this to go, but with you, I'm not going to put any type of rule or anything like that on it. I want you. We started off with just being ready, okay? What it looked like to be ready when you were leaving a place that obviously jail, prison, etc. You were leaving that to start your life, and that you were ready for it. Um, I guess I'm going to say this, but you take this wherever you want to, wherever you want to take it. What's one word that you'd want to leave the people with that maybe help them become ready? And I know I'm adding that part on, but just what's one word you want to leave the people with today?
Impact.
Mm, okay. And what does that mean? Why impact? What does that look like?
So, I mean, first off, impact is my word for the year, right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
pick a
Yeah.
word every year, right? And so this year the word is impact because I want to just focus more on impact over everything, right? Impact over income, impact over prestige. I just want to help more people, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason why I say impact for the word for anyone that might be going through it, struggling, or trying to change their life, right? It's because if you think about the impact of your actions on anyone in your life, it's easier to want to change those actions,
Yeah.
right? I if I know that doing something could negatively impact my stepsons, right? an example I show them could negatively impact them, me being the person I once was could negatively impact them, I'll never want to do that type of behavior, that action, right? So, as a parent, especially, I work with moms, right? I tell them all the time, is what you're doing a good example to your children? Because
Mm,
you're impacting, those are
mm,
the immediate people you're impacting as a parent are our kids, right?
mm.
And if what you're doing would negatively impact those kids, then stop doing it. Period. If you
Yeah.
love your kids, we all say we love, I hear it all the time. I would die for my kids. How about you live for your kids? How about you
Ooh.
wake up every day, right? And live for them and create a life that they deserve to be a part of,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You said you would die because how about you live for them? Let's go. Let's go. I was talking to a kid the other day, one of my friends kid, and they basically had been suspended from school, right? And I was like, we were talking, catching up. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I said to him, so what happened? And then he told me he didn't want to talk about it. I said, okay, that's fine. But if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, you probably shouldn't have did it to begin with.
Yep.
And so that story you just told me made me think of that. Other thing I want to just quickly leave us with is, people get confused with the difference between limiting beliefs and burnout, right? And how those limiting beliefs, how we could change them, but also the fact that maybe burnout could be like, oh, like I'm stuck, and burnout can lead to some limiting beliefs. But I think recognizing what burnout really actually is, and how I coach my clients is about recognizing that burnout is actually recognizing that you deserve more for yourself and whatever that looks like, and just finding ways to invest in that. Um, Coach Paul, this has been fantastic. How can people find you? Do you have anything to share with the people today? How do we connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's THE_coach_Paul, the Coach Paul. And you can find me on Facebook. If people still use Facebook, it's not the biggest thing, but I'm on Facebook as well because I'm on all platforms to make sure that I can be seen. Paul Casey. And yeah, just reach out to me if you're struggling with anything. I work with moms specifically to help them change their mindset, their metabolism, and their muscles so they can set a positive example for their children and create a future they deserve.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Send me any links that you want, Coach Paul. I'll put them in the description below. Everyone, thank you so much for listening today to the Speak Your Vision podcast. Once again, this man, he is an embodiment of the word resilient. So be sure to get your 15 steps to resiliency checklist. They'll be down below as well. And once again, thank you all so much for listening to the Speak Your Vision podcast. And remember, this isn't only about I, it's about we. We are Vision of Hope. Thank you all for listening.
Peace.